Now, introducing the check-in into your community group or men's shed, that can be maybe a tricky thing because you're introducing something new that's unfamiliar. And the thing is that most community groups, especially or work groups where men gather, they're largely based on banter, right? And banter is great. I love banter. I love the parry and thrust of banter, and I love the humor of it, especially in Australia. I think banter is an art form, so it's great. But I think when we're trying to introduce checking in, where you want to shift from banter to connection, authenticity, openness, gentleness, kindness, and just patient listening. So we're actually shifting the mood quite a bit. That could cause some resistance and cause some people to react to your idea to introduce that. So I workshopped this whole thing with a group of guys from Men's Shed, volunteer leaders who are taking the check-in back to their sheds. And they all had valid concerns about introducing the concept of a check-in into their shed because it's really not part of the culture. So we workshopped this, and I'm going to just go through in the next following slides just some of the issues and then some of the solutions, but I'll really leave it to you to read most of them. So the first thing was, how do you best introduce the check-in, right? Because you need to go through proper channels, and that's really the main thing people were saying, is you got to brief the management committee, introduce a concept maybe at general meetings, give people prior notice, get key people on board, put it in the diary, advertise the benefits of checking in, all these things, right? You may want to encourage the shed leaders to get involved. This is a list of things that you can do to introduce checking in into your shed. And, like even like just doing a demo with your leadership team. So the second thing is, the second thing we workshopped is, well, what could go wrong? And a lot can go wrong if you don't introduce this well into your community group. What are the challenges? So people can misunderstand or fear the process. People don't like new things. People fear being personal. You could have a difficult person hijack a meeting. You could have outright criticism or ridicule, breach of confidentiality. And there are people who need professional help. So this is a list of, there's a whole list of things here that are challenges and the things that could go wrong if you're trying to introduce the check-in into your community group or shed. Now, thirdly, how will you overcome the challenges? Well, this was a very creative part of the workshop. And I think one of the best things that came up with was from one guy who's actually the president of Men's Sheds of Western Australia. He said, you got to do it by stealth. You've got to kind of go around. So you have to introduce it at another meeting. So I'm not sure if that's how you want to do it, but that was certainly an approach that he could take. You want to set expectations with management and the membership that this will take time to embrace. It's not for everyone. You don't have to come if you don't want to. So very light. You need sponsorship to get momentum, that there's nothing to fear. This is just about building relationship. It's good for our mental health. Establish regular times and dates and be persistent. Be happy with the fact that there's only maybe 2 or 3 people show up for the first couple. Be clear about the ground rules and don't be afraid to remind people of the ground rules. Go with the people who show up. Accept that you are good enough to do the job. Follow the process. Build confidentiality. All these things. So that is a list of some of the ways that we workshopped how to overcome some of the challenges. Now, lastly, I think the big question was, well, okay, we introduce it. Now, how do we sustain it over time? And here are some of the ideas that we workshop. Well, get the committee behind it as sponsors. Accept that it's not for everyone, that people will comment, people will resist, and that's fine. Make it a regular occurrence on your calendar. Try it in an off-site location. like a room in a pub or a side room in a cafe. Keep it simple, okay? Remind people of the rules and promote that we are a listening group, we're a listening shed, and that you are the champion and should not give up. So I hope that's a helpful list of ways you can sustain this over time in the shed.